Can everyone confirm they can hear me?
Um,
Okay.
uh, yeah, sorry, Omar, can I give an introduction for the
Yes,
program before
sure.
we get started? Yeah,
No
okay.
problem.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's workshop. We're going to have a DevOps workshop, right, centered around CI/CD pipelines using GitHub Actions and Docker. And our speaker for today is um Mbauma Miri. She's a DevOps engineer, an a site reliability engineer, and a platform engineer with 5 years of experience. And she's also an avid open source contributor. Um, we are happy to have you today now, Mr. Omar, and thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us your time, and thank you for being here. So, if you don't mind, can you get started with us? Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. So how's everyone doing? I just want the session to be kind of interactive. So I'm gonna be asking lots of questions and I would like us to reply, even if it's to type in the chat or to unmute your mic. So hope I have everyone's support. I'm not seeing any reactions. Okay, all right, thank you. So we'll be talking about setting up CI/CD pipeline. Does anyone have an idea of what a CI/CD pipeline is? The full meaning of CI/CD, or has worked with pipelines before? Or is this our first time of hearing anything about CI/CD or pipelines? I'm looking at the charts. Thank you, Mele Yuton, for your response. Sorry if I don't get your name pronunciation. Okay, so Aisha said this is her first time. Okay, that's fine. So do I assume every other person else here knows about CI/CD pipelines? Mm, okay, I'll take the silence as yes. So in that case, anyone want to tell us what the full meaning of CI/CD is? Okay, so Oyedeke said, I only know what CI/CD stands for. I can't talk about anything else. Okay, that's fine also. So would anyone want to tell us what CI/CD stands for? Mm, Continuous integration or continuous integration. Okay. So Success said, I've set one up for a project before. Okay, that's fine. Thanks everyone for your response. And yes, CI/CD means continuous integration, continuous delivery. So a pipeline is just what it means, like a pipe that's we mostly have it in homes or offices. It's transports water from one place to another. So in the same way, your CI/CD pipeline will transport your code from one place to another place. If you have any questions, you can raise up your hand or put it in the chat at any point in time if you have questions. I'm not sharing my screen. I don't have slides and I'm not sharing my screen yet, but we'll get to a point where I'll share screen. So, can you please mute Precious Chisel? Thank you. Yeah, so like I was saying, a CI/CD pipeline transports your code from one place to another place. And we have different tools that can help with that. Another thing to consider in setting up a CI/CD pipeline is the first question is where is your code sitting? So you can have your code in GitHub or Bitbucket or anywhere else. So the next thing is where are you moving your code to? So some people may say, okay, I want to deploy to a virtual machine. Some may say maybe a Kubernetes environment, like Kubernetes cluster. Some can say, oh, I just want to build a Docker image and leave it in a container registry. Some can say, I just want to run tests and that's all. So at the end of the day, it all boils down to what you want to do. Like, what do you want this pipeline to do for you? That is going to guide how you create the pipeline. So just a survey. How many of us here let's say backend engineer, so backend engineer just or developer, just raise up your hand or make send a reaction. Anyone doing backend, any language at all? Okay, so Babatunde, about success. Okay, those are the only two backend people. So anyone doing front end, any front end engineers? Okay, Oyeleke. Mm, anyone doing DevOps here? Okay, so what does okay, Chuku Solomon said he's doing DevOps, Confidence is doing DevOps. All right. So anyone else, like what does every other person do? Like feel free to type your role or your aspiring role in the comment section. So let me start with the backend people. So backend engineers, can you hmm, can you give me like a scenario. So, for example, now you finish writing your code. What do you think you would like to build a pipeline for? Like, you finish writing your code, everything is okay, it works on your local machine. What's if someone tells you, oh, okay, can you? Okay, maybe they wouldn't tell you, I'll try to set up a pipeline, but just maybe personal projects now. What would you like to set up a pipeline for? Saying as you're a backend engineer. Anybody wants to try? Or is the question not clear? Okay. Babatunde said auto deploy or test on push. Yeah, that's very correct. You would want to deploy and also test. So the first thing you do is to test, and the next thing you do is to deploy your code after you've properly tested it. Okay, that's fine. So we'll look at a few examples of pipelines I've worked on before, like personal projects, and we'll chat about them. So let me just share my screen real quick. And if anyone has any question, just let me know. Mm, okay. So first things first, I recommend everyone to get a hold of this book and read it or study it and also practice it. Thank you. Pipeline as code. But this uses Jenkins. So yeah, there are different tools we can use. You can use your Jenkins, you can use GitHub Actions, you can use Circle CI, you can use Travis CI, and all of them. So this is one pipeline. So this one was to deploy to a Kubernetes cluster. So you can see in GitHub Actions, you create the file with you create your deployment files in a folder called .github slash workflows. Then you can have any number of files. Okay, yes, I've seen your question. What's the Kubernetes cluster? Okay, I'll attend to that. You can have any number of files. The most important thing is your trigger. What triggers the pipeline? So to answer your question, what is the Kubernetes cluster? So we know what Docker is? Let me go back to the call so I can see. Okay, someone said no. Anybody else on the call knows what Docker is? Anyone at all? Nobody? Anybody used Docker before? Okay. Okay. Something on the cloud. Not exactly. For containerization, yes. So Docker is a tool that helps you containerize your code. So what it basically does is, okay, this is the scenario I like you to describe how Docker works or what Docker is. So because you just got a brand new laptop, maybe M4, whatever, and it's empty, it's new. Okay, someone said heard about it, don't know about it. Yeah, that's fine. So you bought a brand new laptop and it's empty, yeah. So the next thing, let's say if you are a what they call it now, if you are a Node developer, if you write Node, you want to say, okay, let me download Node, install npm, all of that. If you're a Python developer, you say, oh, I want to download Python and have pip and everything else like that. So like that, sure. So that whole step of you going to the Node website, downloading Node, doing your npm, everything, Docker abstracts all those steps for you. It means that all Docker needs is your code and your listed out dependencies, and then it will package everything for you, and your container image is ready. Yes, yes, yes. Someone said Docker helps solve the problem of it works on my PC but not on client's PC. Yes, that's true. Because you may be using maybe a Windows to code, and then someone else is using maybe a Mac to code. I know there may be some issues with compatibility and everything, but if you're using a Docker image, everything is standardized. So if I get a hold of the container image that maybe someone else has built on their Windows machine, and I run it on my machine, it won't have any, there won't be any issues of say, okay, you need to install one thing or another thing. No, everything just works. So Docker just helps you to package your code together in a way that you can run it on any operating system without issues. Now, where Kubernetes comes in is where you have multiple Docker containers that you want to manage. That's what Kubernetes helps us with. So it's basically um, what's it called? It's called container orchestration. So it's not like you can't use your Docker compose to like manage containers and all, but Kubernetes helps you to manage everything like better. It actually really prevents like human errors and all of that. And it also helps with deployment too. So the good thing about Kubernetes is when you are building a new, let's just use a, the word image, a new image or a new deployment, your previous deployment will not like die until a new deployment is up and running. So that means if you have maybe Hello World running on a server or something, your website won't go down, okay, unless a new deployment of maybe Hello World, good morning, is up and running. So I hope that answers the question for now. Okay, so back to the CI/CD pipeline scripts. So the first thing you do is you name. Can we see the texts on my screen, or are they too tiny? Should I increase the size?
You can help increase the size. I
Okay.
think it's the time. Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay. All right. Feel free to unmute your mic and talk, or leave a comment in the this thing in the chats. And it's okay if maybe I've spoken about something before, but you didn't get it and you want to like take us back a bit. That's fine. The most important thing is you understand like what you're here for, and you learn one or two things and not just waste like 2 hours of your weekend. So the first thing is you name your pipeline, whatever, anything you want to name it. So because this was to set up a pipeline that deploys to Kubernetes or something, I just named it this. And so the next thing is your trigger. So I mean, you have pipes in your house, maybe pipe leading to your bedroom, your kitchen, all of that, okay? But now the pipe is just sitting down there. It won't do anything unless you open the tap. So you have to like turn the knob of the tap so that water can pass through that pipe. So in the same way, if you build this pipeline, it will just sit down there. Your code will not pass through, it will not go anywhere, it will not do anything until you open the tap. So there has to be something that starts the pipeline or start the process of water flowing through your pipe. And so my triggers whenever someone make a pull request to the branch called develop, or whenever somebody make a pull request to any make a pull request to a branch called develop, particularly the files that have aks dash cluster slash everything. So basically this folder. So it's basically saying I want this pipeline to run when somebody edits a file inside this cluster. That's just the meaning of lines 3 to 8. Now there's documentation you can look at. I think search GitHub actions. Yeah, so this their documentation. So you can also look through this documentation and see like examples and every other things that you would need. So you can see what they call it said triggering a workflow and all that. So there are different ways to start your pipeline. Yeah. So you can take a look at that documentation later on. I think that's a guide. So now you grant your pipeline permissions, normal stuff. Now, when you define jobs are just tasks. You're saying, okay, well, when somebody on the tap in the kitchen, water should flow from the GP. Maybe it should pass through the outside, maybe the veranda, just pass through the pipe outside, then enter the pipe at the kitchen floor, and then come up to the sink, and then come out. So those are like jobs. You're telling the pipeline how should or what should you do when water is flowing through. You can also, some can say, okay, water coming from the GP, water is filtered. You have all those like filtration, all those things. Water is filtered, the water enters into the house. Maybe one pipe will take it to the bedroom, but it's not come out of the bedroom tap. The second pipe will take it to the kitchen. Once the kitchen tap was open, it will get filtered again. Then it will come out into the sink. So those steps of say you put filtration sheet or whatever come go to X, go to Y. Those are like jobs. You're telling the pipeline that okay, I want you to take my code through XYZ processes before finally coming out at the kitchen tap. So, and you can put anything in your job. So the backend people said, okay, they want to test before they deploy. That's fine. So I have a test job. I don't think I have a test job here. I'm not sure. So the next thing, so because this is, I think this is building, this is running Terraform. So I'm basically running Terraform scripts here. I use a this is what you call it now. I'm using a Terraform job in mind. So first things first, I name my build. So you can have multiple builds. Some people have a build for maybe deployments, and then maybe a build for tests, a build for deployments. Depends on you really. Another thing is, okay, another reason why I like, let's say my job or my field is most things are up to you. So it's up to your discretion, and you can play with things as you want, like play with code or play with processes and everything, as long as it's not like a security risk or anything. So, oh, what did I press? So this is me saying, okay, Terraform initialization. I'm running it on Ubuntu. So that is basically saying the OS operating machine I want you to use is the latest version of Ubuntu. I set up my environment variables and everything. So these are some secrets. So you can see, like I'm saying, this is a secret.azure client ID. Obviously, there are some informations that I don't want exposed to the general public. So what do? I create them as secrets. Okay, so open up here now. So this is how you set your secrets actions. So you create your secrets here, and then you can edit them, you can delete, whatever. I think on this pencil, yeah, that's a pencil icon. You see that the value is not even there. I can't even see the existing value. So if I write a new value here and update, the pipeline will fail because it's obviously it's most likely will be a wrong value. I can't just write a random thing. I'll have to go back to my container registry, generate a new password, and then put it here before it would work. So I'm not going to click on update secrets, but you get how the whole secret management thing happens. Okay, let's just go back to this thing. Okay, then the next thing, I check out my code, normal way of git checkout. Then I set up Terraform. So the good thing is most um things you want to do, I want a pipeline to do, already have a, I don't know what this particular thing is called, but let's just say it already has like a package you can call to use. For example, if I want to set up Node now, there'll be a Node package that I would call and set up my version of Node. It's Python, the same thing. We're still going to look at other examples of pipelines, so we'll surely see like different packages there. And another good thing is you have to follow this thing, like, how would I put it now? Like for example, now you need to follow the steps of how you would do it manually. So for example, now let's say I want to fry yam. I know, okay, first step to fry yam. I buy the yam from markets or online or anywhere. Then I slice, so I peel it rather. But before you, I mean, you cut it up into smaller pieces, you slice it, smaller pieces, then you peel it, then I wash it with salt. Then you can, if you want to boil it, the process is different. You put your pots, or you bring your pots, put water inside, put salt, put the clean yam, put it on fire, be checking it. If you want to fry it, you after you wash your yam, you dry it, or you don't dry it, depend on you. You salt it in your basket or bowl or something, just salt it. You put your fry pan on fire, put your oil, everything, fry your yam like that. So the same way you would think, okay, this code now, I want to run tests, then I want to push it to a virtual machine. Let's use a virtual machine now. to like want to let's say our server is on a virtual machine, like maybe Azure machine or something, Azure VM or something. Um, okay, I hope we are all familiar with the term virtual machine server. Yes or no? Just a quick show of hands or a quick reaction. Okay. Michael is familiar. Who else again is familiar with server VMs? Okay, Kolawode, Abba success. Okay, cool, nice. So normally, virtual machine, you can have it, you buy it from any cloud provider. It's sitting in the cloud, easy to serve, websites, whatever, anything at all. So you're like, okay, well, maybe I bought one server. I want to put my website on the server. So the first step is we check out your code, maybe npm run test or something. Then you deploy it or you push it to that virtual machine. Maybe you're using Docker to run it. It's in Nginx, all those things. You know you have to run those commands. We'll see an example shortly. So the first thing I did was log in via Azure CLI. Another thing I'm going to advise us is please, in the name of God or whoever, always make sure you write, you use readable, meaningful naming conventions. Because it will happen that maybe you've written a code maybe since 2020, and later they're like, okay, maybe a project will come up now when 1 gig comes. And you're like, I've done this thing before. Okay, now I'm gonna check my repo. You now go to your repo, you didn't even name, no proper naming convention, no comments, no nothing. It's going to be hard for you to like refactor what you've done previously or even replicate it on a different environment. I mean, like I was, if I didn't maybe write, I didn't give us things like proper naming conventions, chances that I will easily remember what the jobs are doing is going to be quite low. But now I can see that, okay, this is what you're saying, log in via Azure CLI. Okay. Yeah. So this is how you log in through log into Azure CLI, like that. So just to help yourselves as you progress in your journey as a developer or anything, always use proper naming conventions in your codes and everything. So first things first, log into your Azure CLI. Obviously, you need to be signed into the Azure portal before you can do anything. Then you run your Terraform init. For those of us familiar with Terraform, run Terraform init, run your validate, and then run your plan, and then you apply. So this Terraform destroys if you want to delete everything you've done. That's why it's commented out. I think maybe I was debugging. That's why I had it at this particular position. But you can put it anywhere as long as your job is running to pass through it. So this one just builds the infrastructure using Terraform. That's all. Then coming to the cd.yaml. Actually, this is a bad naming convention for this file, but I think it can fly sha because I mean, I don't know. So this one now is to deploy the manifest to the Kubernetes cluster. So same job. So now this one I'm saying trigger this particular pipeline when a pull request is open to the main branch under the parts of code. So if somebody edits something in this folder now, yeah, I want this pipeline to run. Just like saying, okay, well, when somebody on the uh, tap inside your bedroom, that's when water should come out from the bedroom tap. uh So normal way, give permission, everything. So now you can see my env. My env is just a way of me referencing maybe secrets or naming convention, just a neater way of me like referencing things in my code. Not the same way you use variable names in your code. Same way I'm using env. And now I am checking out, I set up Python. So you can see what I was talking about, that every action or every language or whatever has a, for lack of a better word, a library that they will call. Then I install my dependencies. So normal way, like you're running your Python code, you do your this thing, install pip, upgrade pip, I'm first in the create a virtual environment, install pip, install all the packages and everything. So this is me saying if there is a this thing now, a code requirement.txt, then run pip install on that file. I think I have like a lot of requirements in this requirement.txt or something. Okay, not a lot, sha, but hey, it's something. So install all of that. Then you lint your code. I don't know why I did. Okay, you can lint it to. I mean, it's your pipeline. You're free to do anything you want. Run your linting. Run your. I don't know what's. I think JavaScript has linting. So lint whatever I want to lint. Then I test. It's this is how I run. So that means on my local machine, this is how I run tests. You need to cd into the code directory, then run your PyTest. Now the next thing is deployment to Azure now, Azure Kubernetes. So log into the CLI. I built my Docker image. I see how neat this command is looking. Very, very neat. It's very messy if I had to like write out all these things like full text. So Docker build, then I was logging into container registry because I want to push to the container registry. I push to the container registry, then install my kubectl, set up my kube config. So people who are working Kubernetes know that when setting up your cluster, you need to, after like creating it, however you want to create it, using Terraform or using the UI of your cloud provider, you need to like add it to your kube config file so that so that your laptop or your Kubernetes installation on your local machine would recognize the cluster, or the tool you are using to work with your Kubernetes cluster can recognize your cluster. Then you fetch your credentials. That's the same kube config again. Then set up environment variable. Then apply your manifest. And then you deploy it to this thing. Azure Kubernetes. So my first advice would be try to do this whole thing manually. I think I wrote about it here. So before, and another thing is you don't just jump into this thing, you don't just jump into automation. Yeah, because these pipeline configs, they are actually automation. So just like short automation commands. First do it manually. Then as I do it manually, jot down each and every step that you're taking. So those steps are what will make up your automation script. So this is me getting certificates and everything. And also make sure your README is always filled up. I worked with a lot of developers here. Their README is just one line, and that's all. I mean, okay, it may not be a serious project or something, but still try and write, like document your steps, how to run your code, how to run your tests, where are you deploying to, and all that. Because someone may, like now, I work with devs a lot here, and most times I'm like, okay, maybe they're writing Golang or a language that I'm not familiar with. I'm like, okay, how do I run tests here? How do I even start the code on my local machine so that let me even see if it's working first before I do anything. And I'm lost, like because there's no documentation. I have to like start asking them like, oh, how far or how do I do this? How do I do that? But if there's documentation now that says, okay, maybe step one, go to this website, download Golang. Number two, install Golang. Number three, if you want to run in your system, do this, do that. I'll just follow those steps. And when I get stuck, I can ask them for questions rather than I'm just like blindly working on a project. So we're going to look at a different pipeline now. I think this one is me working with Fast API, I guess. And my goal here was just to deploy to GitHub container registry. So I'm just storing like everything. So this is how to go to your container registry because GitHub also has container registry, not only Docker. And yeah, so this is it. This is it. So I see the documentation and everything. And let me see the versions. Yeah, so these are like all my images that I've pushed here, and number of times they've been downloaded. Who is downloading all these things? Okay. So I mean, there's even a command to show you how to pull it and run it on your local machine. So, but let's look at the pipeline first off. So I mean, first things first is, let me just talk through the whole process, then we'll look at the pipeline. So first things first, I need to check out my code. Then the next thing I'll need to do is run a test if I wrote tests, and then build the Docker image, and then push the Docker image. Yeah. So the choice of trigger depends on you. So I'm saying run this pipeline when someone make a push to the branch called dev, and run it again when someone open a PR to the branch called main. Give it my permission, env first color 3. That was like graphics and stuff to make it fine. The outputs. So my first job is called dev. Yeah. So what happens? So I think my thing. So I'm guessing that my thinking while writing this was everything happening when you make a push. I'm gonna call it dev. So that means whenever someone pushes to the dev branch, the code gets checked out. I set up Python because obviously the Python code, install all my dependencies and run tests. So that means I don't want somebody to push beans to the main directory. So this is me thinking my main directory is like my production environment. So yeah. And then I set a trigger that says whenever if the GitHub ref is main, it needs the dev branch and should carry out all these things. So that means when you open that your PR to this main branch, yeah, it's gonna check these outputs from dev and before it starts running. So all these can be guidelines like, okay, if your GitHub ref is this, or if the GitHub pull request is this. So these are just like enforcements to just enforce this rule that's been set up here. And then I check out, I log into the Docker org, then I build and push. So this is me pushing to both Docker org and GitHub container registry. I log into the GitHub container registry, then I build and push. That's all. That's all I did there. That's all for this thing job. So now this is something else that I worked on. This is like a very recent thing I worked on. So this one is to deploy to a virtual machine. So you can say this is like more complete. So the first thing I did was, so this was I just working straight up with the main branch. So whenever you open a PR or you push to the main branch, you're gonna get triggered. Then open. So this open is like if someone does open the PR, or maybe a PR is existing, and someone just maybe added another push, please trigger the pipeline. Give me permission. I set up my jobs, set up my environment, which says I'm getting the VMIP, username, password, and everything. So Ubuntu latest. Now, an aside here, there are some people who have built custom GitHub actions. So these are open sourced and they won't exactly be on this GitHub actions, what do you call it now? Documentation. So an example is Apple Boy. So I use Apple Boy every time I am SSHing. Do we all know what's, I mean, people who have worked with with servers rather, who know that you have to SSH into a server or a virtual machine. So when I was SSH into virtual machine to deploy or anything, this is the package I use. It's open source. You go to the GitHub marketplace, you see different open source open source actions. I think I don't have one DSF, but hey. So okay, now I check out, I deploy to the VM. So for this year, you need to first, so like I said, do everything manually first. I mean, as you grow in your career, you wouldn't need to do everything manually first because you already have experience. So I know that the first thing I need to do is I need the code, yeah, on the VM. So I set up my repo directory, set up my Git URL, I clone everything. So this is what do you call it now? Conditional state. We're just saying that if the repo directory exists, say or print already exists, just put in the latest changes and that's all. If not, clone the repo, clone the repo, and that's it. Then cd into the repo directory, and then run these commands. So I'm building, docker build. So this top command here, so this is one of the things that Kubernetes helps you handle. If I had a Kubernetes config setup now, I wouldn't have to stop and remove like running containers. So this is going to bring the site down for like maybe 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 30 seconds or something, sure. And then I run a new image and that is being served and deployed. And then this is completed. But I think there are ways to handle this, sure, that in such a way that your machine, your server, or your website does not go down. There's a way to handle it. That's if you're doing reverse proxy. But I'm not doing reverse proxy from. I'm not doing reverse proxy from this repository. I'm doing it from another repository, and that container doesn't come down whenever a push is made. So if someone is on the site and this is happening, they can just get like maybe a what now? Maybe I don't know, for maybe 5 or something error, sure, but refresh your screen and everything will be back up. So this is that for pipelines. Any questions from anybody? And I'm going to make sure this what do you call it now? The repos are sent to you. Okay, let me read what we have in the chat. Someone said your code, Docker container allows your code run on any OS, smooth result. Yeah, please do know. Sorry, I can't say anything. Precious, are you later able to see this, to see my screen? I don't know if she or she is still here. But yeah, so any questions from anybody so far? Any clarifications? So I sent a link to some of the repos in the chat. So and take a look, use it as a guide when setting up your own pipelines. So I think I'm done here. So if you have any questions, if you guys collated questions previously before this session, you can ask. If not, that'll be it. I thank you for your time. Okay. Yes, Miami boy. No vex. Chisholm. Princess Chisholm.
Um, okay, thank you very much for that session. We didn't collate any questions, but if anyone from the attendees has any question, you can ask now. Or if you think a concept is not clear, you can unmute and ask.
Good evening.
Yeah,
Good evening,
that's
ma.
up. Good evening.
So I have a question. I have a question concerning JIT because I heard about JIT. I don't know what it's mainly all about.
Is it GIT?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Oh, Git and GitHub. Okay. So, let me share my screen again. Pardon me, everybody. Pardon me, everybody. Okay. So this whole interface, yeah, this is GitHub. So GitHub is like helps you manage your code, can version your code, can collaborate with everybody else or your team. Then Git is the, for lack of a better word, Git is like the package that works together with GitHub. So you use Git to push your code to GitHub. So Git is like that CLI version of GitHub. So if I have to run, so for my CLI, I have to run git push, git init, git clone, everything else. It's just me communicating with the GitHub API, for lack of a better word, a GitHub API to just like carry out any kind of operations on my code. So yeah, that should be like the very first thing you learn as a developer. Let me see if I can get any resources that can help you with learning Git and GitHub. I'll share them in the chat so at least you can start there and um, continue your journey. Git and GitHub. Let me give you. I mean, if I read the docs, so I'm sending the link in the chat to make sure you take it down. Or is there, does that answer your question? Or is there a specific thing you're looking out for? But you didn't ask. That's too precious chisel now. If you're saying anything, I can't hear you. Okay. Okay, Kolawole, hand is up.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. So I kind of like have a question around this Amazon service.
Which
So
am I?
yeah, so I've been trying to want to perform a kind of DevOps operation on Amazon, particularly Kubernetes. So having to get to because they said the minimum requirement to run Kubernetes is around two. At least you must have a 2 gig RAM CPU. So I'm using the free, I had the free version. You can at least be able to get that. But trying setting it up, even after following the manual, at the time I initiate the instance, I still end up seeing one this there are one. It's just giving me one CPU compatibility to run with. So I don't know. Is it that getting the 2 gig requirement is had to be paid or is no longer free, or is just kind of giving me some kind of disturbances? I don't know if you can share light on it.
Okay, well, I haven't faced that issue before. And I mean, you can try, I think an alternative you can try Digital Ocean, might be cheaper. And maybe that's requirement that's for like a paid account because these cloud providers they review their rules like regularly and all that. So that may be a paid feature. I would say you can check out DigitalOcean Kubernetes. That's a cheaper option. Or maybe Azure. Yeah, or
Mhm.
or it's yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would advise. Or even try GCP Kubernetes offering. Yeah, you can try that also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and by the end of it, it's still the same setup, just like everybody has their own customized best configuration rules. But at the end of the day, it's all related. Yeah, kind of similar.
Yeah. 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 All right.
Yeah,
I'll check on with you. Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else has any question? Okay, over to you, Somto. I don't think there's any more questions.
Oh, okay. In the absence of no more questions, I want to thank everyone for being present here today and also thanking our speaker for making our time to come and share her knowledge with us about CI/CDs, CI/CD pipelines, GitHub actions, and how to, create a pipeline with GitHub actions and Docker as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming to this workshop. And yeah, we'll share the recordings. We'll upload the recordings to our YouTube channel and also share the resources that Omar shared to us today. And yeah, so thank you very much, everyone, for coming. This session was really great. I hope you learned something here today. I hope you took something here. Yeah, I hope you are going to take something home from here today. Right. So thank you much. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and have a good night and have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.